Welcome to Tuesday with Terry, the podcast for getting your mind, business, and life in shape. Hosted by Terry Blachek, one of the original area developers for Orange Theory Fitness, who helped launch the brand from the very beginning. He'll use his years of experience to help you shape up your mind, build strong relationships with your teams, revamp your business processes, and set down the path towards success in all aspects of your life.
Good afternoon. Good morning. My name's Terry, and welcome to another episode of Tuesdays with Terry. I'm talking to you live from Austin, Texas, where the sun is hot, the barbecue is sweet, and all the drinks are free over here. And come on over and visit us, man. We got some good stuff going on. We got great workouts going on at Orange Theory Fitness and a lot more. Boy, do I have a treat for you today, man. I am here with a good friend of mine, a good former colleague of mine, Sheri McDonald, live and in person right here. Good morning, Sheri. How are you?
I'm great. Good morning.
Thanks for coming in. Appreciate it. You know, Sheri and I go back. I was trying to think this morning how long we've known each other. And is 2013? Does that sound right?
It does. Yeah.
Yeah. So about 7 or 8 years, Sheri and I knew each other and were introduced through Orange Theory Fitness, actually. But better than me telling you the story of Sheri, I thought, you know, for all of our female listeners out there today, for all of our folks who are trying to advance and move in their career, for people who are trying to start their own business, this is the lady to talk to. She did some great things when we worked together, and proud of that. And but I thought it would be great for her to share her story and tell you a little bit about her background and give us a quick overview on your background, the Reader's Digest version, maybe, Sheri.
Sure, yeah. I always want to start my story just by saying I'm really lucky. I'm blessed. I knew from a really young age what I wanted to be when I grew up. And, I got my first gym membership when I was 14, had no idea what I was doing, had never been on a sports team or played an organized sport. And there was a personal trainer there who took time to see that I was literally just bumping into things and teach me how to do abs and teach me how to use the treadmill. And at 14, my grades started getting better in school.
Sounds like me. My grades actually started getting worse.
Getting worse. Opposite.
Yes, sir.
My confidence went up with that physical activity before my body even changed. And I knew right then, if anyone asked me, starting at age 14, what I wanted to be when I grew up, I said I wanted to own a gym someday.
And where did you grow up? Where?
I grew up in California,
okay.
And this was in a little town called Point Reyes out on the coast. So Northern California, beautiful area. And the gym was about the size of this room we're in, by the way.
We're in a small studio, about 12 by 12. By the way,
so pretty small. As soon as I graduated high school, I went looking for a job at a gym. Had no idea, what I would do, but I found a place that was opening up called Fusion Fitness out there in Santa Rosa, California. And Kathy Palio, who was Miss Universe in 1982, nice. She happened to be the owner and the one opening it. And this was my first mentor that I ever had. She was a ripped Italian woman, just like she would curse you out if you did something wrong, like just all the passion, all the energy, all the love too, right? True Italian. And so my first job was with her, started off working at the front desk and in the juice bar, because you couldn't have a gym without a juice bar back then anyways, right? Got to have those smoothies.
When you say back then, when is back then?
So this was 2003.
Okay.
Yeah, 2003.
For all of us who are old timers here, that's not the way back then. That's
it's like medium.
Yeah, that's medium
middle
back then.
Yeah. Back when. So that was great. It was 2 years, and I worked my way up from just being someone at the front desk who she actually didn't have a sales team. So if you worked at the front desk, you would give tours, and I always took the tours, right? If someone walked in, I was like, let me talk to you, let me take you around, let me show you this amazing place. And that's where my sales career started, is she said, you know what, you're really good at this. Why don't you become the sales team? Why don't you start that? And so I started that sales team and grew it into 5 people by the time I left there 2.5 years later.
Nice.
From there, I went to work at the University of Sports, which was a 65,000 square foot facility that had kids, camps, and leagues, in addition to the standard like gym and spa and juice bar setup that was popular back then.
Is that still in California?
Still in California, yeah, in the little Rohnert Park. And Aaron Locks was the owner of that location. He had worked for the Warriors and Lakers for 7 seasons. Nice. He would review their tapes and give them feedback on what to do at the next game. Just a really strategic mind, awesome guy. Again, got really blessed. Another amazing mentor in my life for 6 years. At that point, I was 27 and I sought out on an adventure to move to Florida, and I was sitting in a coffee shop and there was a guy in a bright orange shirt, and he was talking to a woman in a bright orange shirt about a client who had lost 40 pounds in 6 weeks. And I couldn't help myself. I had to go ask what was going on, and that's what led me to Orange Theory Fitness. Is they told me about the program. I already had a job, but I was like, take my resume just in case. And one thing led to another. I was talking to this guy that's across from me right now about opening up some Orange Theories, and had the honor to open up the Sarasota location.
Yep.
And I think we opened up the Sarasota location with like 281 members, and we're pretty happy about that, right? This was, what year was that?
2013, I think.
Was it? Yeah,
2014 maybe.
There you go.
Yep.
So that was awesome. And I think it was maybe 6 to 8 months after that, I started helping out in a regional position there, and you had acquired Austin.
Yep.
And it was the end of that same year that you approached me, and it was a napkin, I think at third base.
You know, everybody talks about me with a napkin. Everybody I've talked to, from selling franchises to training to getting people to sign up and work for me, it's always about a story on a napkin.
It was a bar napkin. And you had a great story about what you were going to do in Austin and how I might be able to play a role. And I'd never been to Austin a day before in my life, but I moved to Austin about a month later.
Was that 2015?
2015. Yeah. So it was New Year's Eve. It was actually New Year's Day. I got in the car and drove to Austin.
Wow.
Yeah. And so started my year here. And you guys had, I think, just finished, or no, you were just in the middle of the first pre-sale for Round Rock.
Yeah.
And so I helped finish that out and ran the Arbortown location, got to that 500 number for members.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It was
500
great.
Club.
Yeah, 500 Club.
Only 20%, by the way, only 20% of the Orange Theory Fitnesses get to that 500 members in a pre-sale. And Sheri was one of those folks that did it there at Arbortown Square. Probably have more that I don't even know, can't remember.
Yeah, we did it a few more times after that.
We had a saying in Austin, right? No studio left behind.
Yeah.
No studio left behind.
We had shirts made.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, 500 Club. And we went to corporate, and they told us to take those off because they weren't approved, right? Remember that? Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, so had a great time, with Orange Theory, and Terry Blachek, next mentor on my list, right? Again, I think that's something that I've been, blessed with, is throughout my journey, I've had these incredible people who are willing to pour into me, and that I really took advantage of that. And so got my good experience with Terry with Orange Theory. We grew to 27 locations in Austin and San Antonio.
Yeah, I want to stop just for a second, because I remember sitting in a room with you and Troy, and we had just I was writing on the wall. It was drywall. They were building out Triangle at the time, and I said, I'm going to show you how we're going to build this company to a $40 million company.
$40 million.
And we put all the pieces and parts up on that wall, and Sheri and Troy were certainly influential in helping me to grow my business and getting private equity, and we exceeded that when that happened. But yeah, keep going. Sorry, I just remember that one day where we were. You're going to talk about vision boards or goal boards or something like this, I think, and I just that was part of our vision where we put it down. It was important to write it down, and I've been talking about goals. But I can't tell you how important it is that when you have an idea, when you have a crazy idea, something that you want to accomplish, is you got to get it written down on paper. In this case, I wrote it on the drywall in a room.
You got to have it right in front of you. That visualization is key.
Yep. So you went from a studio manager to regional position.
And then actually took a step back. I think that's something important to talk about is, I was in a regional position out in Florida, and Terry said, come take less money, probably make about half of what you're making now.
But you got an ownership. You got some ownership.
There's a dream on this napkin. And so, it was great. Took a step back into a studio management position and just focused on opening up that Arbor location with a, full steam. Then stepped back into regional, and then stepped into a VP position, where I carried out the rest of my time there.
So VP, I forget how many, you were over all of Texas or all of Austin, I think, at the time. But let's go back to that. Because, a lot of people want to start a business. A lot of people, have these ideas, and they might have written it down on a piece of paper. And you said I was taking a risk. So tell me what goes on inside your mind when you go, Should I, shouldn't I? I'm going to move forward. I'm not going to move forward. What was important for you? And maybe to some of our listeners, when you're taking a risk, what are some of the things maybe you would counsel people to think about? And you've taken some other risks since then, so we'll talk about those in just a minute. But just, it's a big move. You were moving halfway across the country.
Yep.
I think you were single at the time,
yep.
right? So that was different. Your life has certainly changed since then. We'll hear about that. But tell me about what you think about in your brain and what makes you say, yes, I'm going to go ahead and take the risk. What's important?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I actually pride myself a little bit in being willing to take risks. And part of it is that my mindset, I fully understand that I'm never going to be ready. It wouldn't be a risk if I was just ready for this, but I can be prepared. And I think that's what I do mentally is I say, here's an opportunity. I'm not ready, but I'm prepared. So let's jump into this. Let's do it. And then I burn the boats. Quite frankly, I just burn the boats. I go for it. I go all in, full commitment. I don't think anyone who's ever been truly successful doesn't do that. I think if you look at even influential leaders, like we just had Martin Luther King Jr. Day, right? Talk about somebody who burnt the boats, who was willing to, in this situation, extreme, die for what he believed in. And for me, when I'm going to take a risk, I might not be ready, but I'm prepared. And then I burn the boats. I commit.
Yeah, no going back.
No going back.
You got to win.
Yeah.
You have no other choice.
That I will win.
Yeah,
we will
you'll win. You're resourceful. You find a solution. You find a way to win, to make it happen, because there's no going back.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you have a pretty good run with Orange Theory Fitness, and
awesome
me,
run.
I was sorry to see you leave when you left. I take you back in a heartbeat, just so you know.
Means a lot.
But so you took, but I think you got to talk a little bit about the payoff.
Yeah.
Right? You had a pretty good payoff.
Oh, yeah.
I think, when we got the private equity team to come in. So, not everybody waited for that payoff. Some people didn't want to wait and left early. Some people thought that it was never going to happen, but you stuck it out. And maybe just talk about that. Talk about a little bit about perseverance and getting through the tough days. I'm not the easiest guy to work for. You know that. There's some hard days there, and we had some big obstacles to overcome, but there was a payoff.
There was.
Tell me about how you felt when that happened, that day that happened in September of 2018, when the check comes through. And did you keep checking your bank account and going, hey, is that real money? That's what I did. I was like, oh my gosh.
It's funny because I think, you mentioned some good things, and one of them is it starts with grit, right? It starts with vision. It starts with having it in your head. I have it with Kids Strong right now, right? In my head, I have 14 centers. I may only have 4 open today, but that's not what I'm working for. Yeah. I have 14 centers. That's where I'm going. That's what I'm doing. And with Orange Theory, I was going to a finish line, and the finish line was 40 million. The finish line was 30 centers, right? It wasn't there. I wasn't there yet. So a lot of times people say, tell me about a time that you wanted to quit and you didn't. And you asked me that a couple of days ago, Terry, and I was dwelling over it the last few days, because I don't know that I have it in my mind ever that I want to quit. I think that what happens is I get a little frustrated and flip it to fascinated, and then get obsessed with solving the problem. You mentioned resourcefulness. You mentioned, for me, just grinding in and doing the work and figuring out how to make it better, because we're not at the finish line yet. And so with Orange Theory, I think that was, an 8-year journey that proved out what grit can truly do. If you truly stick with something through the hard times and push through, in this case, in a monetary way, to make that deal with private equity. What was it, September 2018? Right?
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that.
September 2018. I don't remember the exact date.
Yeah. And, for that deal to go through, it was pretty remarkable. It was pretty remarkable. The funny thing, I think, for me is as wonderful as it was, and the money was in the bank account. I was about to have my daughter. You were about to get married. Yep. Right? I had my daughter on the night you got married. I missed your wedding. Good excuse. It was more of, for me, a satisfaction of what all that hard work had led to, that we did it.
Yeah.
Right?
Feeling of accomplishment,
because there were those times where we were at each other's throats. There were those times where, it was hard. It was hard work. It was 7 days a week. It was, there were seasons to it.
Yep. Never easy. No. Right. I mean, and so people look at successful people like yourself and they say, well, she's got it so easy. And, the truth is it's never easy. Even in what you're doing right now, it's not easy. But certainly it's something you're not giving up on, something you don't want to let go. So great payday. So what happened? You get the payday. You spend, I think, another year or two with us.
Yeah.
And then you decided to move on. So talk about what are you doing now in that transition? You've had... Well, first of all, you got married, you have a family, you got kids. I mean, your life is like blossoming here. It's crazy.
I moved to Austin. I made that, trip based on a napkin, and I met my husband 6 months later. We got married a year after that, had my daughter, as we mentioned, October 2018. So right after we had closed our private equity deal. And then I actually got pregnant with my son, with my second. And that is when I decided that I wanted to start focusing a little bit more on work-life integration. A question as a woman you get asked a lot is, how do you balance it all? How do you do it all? The
are you
home,
coming
the
back?
Work. Are you
having a baby? Are you coming back? I mean, we were all worried about
What's
that.
What's going to change?
Oh my God.
Right?
Yeah.
And a friend of mine about 3 years ago brought up this concept of work-life integration. And it was the idea that you're never really going to have balance, right? You're going to spend more hours at work than you do with your kids, than you do with your husband, than you do keeping your place clean. And Kid Strong had come to me as an opportunity. Terry and I actually talked about it when it came to my table. I'd say it was brought up to me 2018, signed on beginning of 2019, right? Sometime that
Kid
time
Strong. So
Kid
this is
Strong.
So this is what you're doing
I'm
now.
doing now.
Well, what in the wide world of sports is Kid Strong? Is it strong kids? Is it like muscle-bound kids? What is Kid Strong?
It's awesome. We help kids win at life. Kid Strong is a private child development training program, and we focus on brain, physical, and character development for kids.
Okay.
So opposed to a singular sport activity, we're getting kids involved in, physical work that helps them with gross motor skills that will help them with everyday things like, riding a bike, tying their shoes, and brain pieces that will help them academically. But most importantly and most exciting for me is the character pieces. We focus on leadership, confidence, independence. And
what do you do for confidence? Like, how do you help a kid with confidence?
So safe risk taking, right? So we start every single Kid Strong workout with a positive affirmation, because we know positive words that our children say show up as positive action in their lives. And then we teach them a proper social greeting, how to stand up, make eye contact, introduce themselves by name, and shake hands. And that's a scary thing for a kid, right? A coach they just met, a kid next to them they don't know yet. And it's safe though. So throughout the entire 45-minute class, we're asking them to take safe risks, whether it's a balance beam or something more verbal like we just talked about. And that confidence builds, right? And it gives them what they need to accept opportunities as they're presented to them in the future.
Nice. What age kids you working with?
So walking all the way through 11 years old.
Okay.
Yeah.
How many stores do you have? You have them in Austin here, or where are they? Where do I find something?
We're all over the country right now. Kid Strong has 26 locations open, and we have 3 here in Austin and 1 in Houston. My best friend Jana and I and our husbands are the area developers for Austin and Houston.
Okay, where in Austin are they? Just so our listeners can hear if you're local.
Yeah, we got Pflugerville, Cedar Park, and North Austin off of Research.
Okay, nice. So more to come in Austin, or?
Oh yeah, we're already. Yeah, actually, we just put an LOI out for a South Austin location.
Oh yeah, growing that business.
Yeah, pretty excited.
That's cool. So that's cool. Building confidence, working with kids, helping them. I saw some pictures. It looked like I'm just telling you from a non, and I've never visited a site, so I can't speak. It looked like physical education for kids is what it is, but it sounds like it's a lot more than that, right? It's that plus more.
It's that plus a lot more, yeah. And just a great ratio. So you have like 1 coach to every 7.5 kids. So we're really able to get, contact.
You were talking about balance, life, family, and everybody asked you. We got diverted over to Kid Strong.
That's what you get asked as a woman, right? Is how are you balancing it all? How are you juggling it all?
Tell us, Sheri, a wise one. What have you found in your life?
I found a couple things. First of all, I think you got to get the word balance out of there, because the scale's not going to balance, right? You're going to spend more time working than you do with your kids, and you're going to spend more time working than you do with your spouse, and than you do on self-care, you know? So that concept of work-life integration was a huge game changer for me because it changed my mental state. It changed my I would say tired factor, right? You ever get really tired? You're working so much. It feels like you're just doing nothing but working. And I changed my mindset to integrating my kids into what I'm doing. And at Kid Strong, that's really possible for me, right? But I think it's possible in everything we do. Most of my job isn't inside the center working with kids. It's coaching my staff on how to be successful and how to do their job and training them. Mentoring, right?
Yep, teaching.
Sales. And to have my son or daughter be able to be around me during that. You know, funny story, my daughter, I have this little tiny refrigerator in my room that I was using for breast milk for a long time, right? To store it after I pumped at night. And my daughter took out the refrigerator from the drawer and goes, "Oh, I know what I need to do with this." She's 3. "I need to sell this to somebody." And I said, who are you going to sell it to? And she's like, "Some people. I'm going to tell them why it's good." And that to me, I was like, you know what? I'm doing a good job. I'm doing a good job of working hard, but being there and having quality time with my kids. And I think that they're understanding that too, and that's powerful for them and where they're going to go. So,
you know, part of that is, I think, being comfortable with what you're doing. And, you know, we talk about balance. You said get the word balance out of there, but you kind of got to be comfortable with how things are working out and be comfortable with the amount of time that you're spending at work and be comfortable with the amount of time with your family and your spouse. And anytime you can have those things kind of merge together, I think that's a good thing. We've been talking about goals and goal setting, and I know you have this kind of fun little thing that you do for yourself, and I thought it would be great for some of our listeners to hear that, how you goal set for yourself, how you kind of set up your year. But tell us a little bit about that. Would you share?
Yeah, so I actually do it with all my teams now too. We just had a vision board meeting, you know, last week, and a goal setting meeting. But for yearly goals, at the end of each year or beginning of the new year, we sit down and we go through hundreds of magazines and or just searches on the internet for things that are inspiring to you and get a visual idea of what makes you feel happy, what makes you feel motivated. What, you know, a picture of a horse doesn't seem like it would be someone's goal. A picture of a fluffy bed covered in lavender flowers doesn't seem like it would be somebody's goal, but that can be very symbolic for what somebody wants to accomplish. And so, funny enough, my friend Francisco, he was a coach for us in Florida at Orange Theory on New Year's Eve of 2014. The day before I drove to Austin, we sat down and started a vision board. And we wrote down on a small piece of paper our goals, our 3 to 5 goals that we wanted to accomplish that year. And we taped it to the vision board and then glued pictures around it that were symbolic as to the things we wanted to accomplish in business, personal, spiritual.
What were some of those things? Do you remember?
I wish I brought it. Yeah. I mean, it's funny because back then, you know, my life was so different. So back then, you know, it was very much, you know, goals about traveling. I had a picture of a puppy on there. I had a picture of an old couple sitting on a bench holding hands, right? I was single at the time, so looking for that relationship potentially. I had a picture of a bull that was made out of dollar bills climbing upstairs. And that was very symbolic to me as what I wanted to do with Austin and with Orange Theory, right? Go Horns.
A bull in a china shop, girl. You just like knock it out.
And so, you know, so those were some of the goals that were written on there at that time. What are some of your goals right now,
Sheri? What are you trying to accomplish today? I know Kid Strong is probably professionally is a big piece of that, but if I had a vision board, and as much as you want to share, of course, but if I had a vision board here, your vision board for today, what are some of the things on there that you're looking forward to or you're trying to set your life up for?
True story. On there right now is the word impact and the word simplicity. And the goals that I have for this year are pretty simple, right? My goals this year, number one is I want my home to feel like a staycation. To me, I love being with my family and the quality time I do get with them. I want my house to feel like that refuge, you know, to have that quality time. And then I have some very number-focused goals. I love my numbers as far as where I want my centers to be. We'll be at 7 locations for just our Austin, Houston group by the end of this year. And I have a number that I want each of those locations to be at for the number of students that we're helping at each location. But but it's pretty simple. And then to get back involved with my church a little more heavily than I am today.
Yep. What about your, you're not with Orange Theory anymore, so I wanted to ask you about your workout. What are you doing? What are you doing for a workout? And I asked you that when we get started, just to kind of loosen up. What's going on with your health and your workout? And are those part of your vision as well?
It's funny. Those are part of my, how I get it all going and how I keep it all together. I work out every morning. I get up at 4:30 in the morning and I get my workout done. That's what works for me. Right?
Rituals, right?
It's a ritual.
It's a ritual.
Yep.
It's how you start your day. It's again, successful people spend time on themselves. It's part of their rituals. Love it.
Absolutely. So right now I do a mix of Orange Theory over at the Pflugerville location and a mix of Beachbody workouts because it's convenient and in my garage and it's working great.
Nice.
Yeah.
So just wrap it up. We probably went a little bit longer than what we normally go here, but just to wrap it up, Sheri McDonald, successful, cross country, California to Florida to Austin, Texas, worked with Orange Theory and had a good career there, stepped out and started Kids Strong, working with Kids Strong. She's an entrepreneur. She's her own businesswoman. She's a family woman, a mom, a wife, and daughter, many more things than that. I can't say enough, but if you had some advice, maybe 2 or 3 things that, really make you successful, Sheri, and you say, man, these things are tried and true for you. Not that would work for everyone, but what are those 2 or 3 things that really work for you? You say, man, when I get going on something or when I focus on something, these are the things that make me successful.
Yeah, it's a good one. First thing I would say is I have to say having a schedule and being organized and planning and having those rituals, meaning you include in your schedule your self-care, and you include in your schedule, if you have kids, that I have an appointment at 6:00 Monday through Thursday, by the way. It's with a 3-year-old and an 18-month-old. But if you ask me, can you talk at 6 today? You're going to hear me say, actually, I already have a meeting scheduled at that time. Okay. And people take that pretty seriously. If I tell you I'm meeting my 3-year-old, you don't take it as seriously, right? Yeah. So having a schedule is really important. I block my time out, right? I think including in that schedule a couple of 30-minute thinking blocks, it's important, because if you book back to back to back, you never actually stop, debrief, breathe, phone a friend, do the things that help you actually apply all the busy that you're getting done, right? Second thing I would say, other than having that schedule, is having the right people in your life, right? I think that, I'd like to say that I've never gotten close to quitting or never had the word quit in my mind. I've had hard times. And the way that I've gotten through every single one of those times is picking up the phone, talking to someone I care about, and a lot of times someone who's smarter than me or has a better or different perspective than I do. And whether that's helped me work my way out of a problem that I was in or just help my mental state, right? I don't care if it's a counselor. It doesn't have to be a friend. It doesn't have to be a mentor. Get a counselor that you can give a call to every other week. But you've got to have some third-party person that's outside of your own headspace. And I think that really helps you be successful.
That's awesome. Yep.
Yeah.
And number 3?
Number 3, Jana, my business partner, she pokes fun at me and admires me for this at the same time. But my answer, if you want to talk sometime, is always yes, right? Because I just believe so firmly in relationships. And I don't know that talking to Joe Schmo, who's interested in Kids Strong in the middle of nowhere, is going to be a conversation that helps me with a darn thing today. But I do believe that I might learn something from talking to this person with different experiences and background, and I might make a relationship and a connection. And I just can't tell you how randomly talking to someone at Starbucks got me into Orange Theory, and the number of stories I have that are just so similar. Even so, Matt, the CEO and founder of Kids Strong, he actually owned a company called Sweat Angels. You heard of that?
Yep.
That check-in system.
Yeah, we tried those guys.
We tried those guys out, right? So the funny thing is when I walked in to have my first meeting about Kids Strong and look at the deck and learn about the blueprint and see if it was going to be something I wanted to get into, I had no idea I was going to actually be walking into a meeting with someone that I'd already had a relationship with, right? But if I had said no to the salesperson on the other line who wanted to sell me Sweat Angels, I wouldn't have had that relationship, but I listened.
I would tell you, it's when you said you don't know what you're going to learn, or might not be anything, but on the flip side of that, it might be something really big. It could be a real big door opener, some big opportunity. In any case, thanks so much for being here today, Sheri. I appreciate you. You've done some great things. I wouldn't be where I'm at in my business if it wasn't for you, my friend, and that's a true story.
It's very mutual.
And I am excited that you could be here. I'm excited to chat with you. Hopefully, we got some good things. Remember those 3 things Sheri said to wrap it up. Number 1 is you got to have a schedule. Number 2 is keep the right people around you. And number 3 was always take some time to talk to people. My name's Terry. I'm your friend. This is Sheri. Thanks for being here.
My pleasure. Appreciate you.
Bye-bye now.
Bye.